What's up, Bodyweight Warriors? Welcome back to another video. And today I've got a 1 hour special follow along to celebrate the 1 million subscribers. We're going to be going through a full body, slightly more active routine. As always, you can grab the full routine in the description down below. You're going to need just a little bit of equipment for today, which is going to be yoga blocks or definitely some cushions. It's going to make exercises that much better. Other than that, just some time and space. And let's jump into it. We're going to kick things off with the Lewitt technique for a little bit of some neck mobilization before we jump into the upper body. So we're going to take both arms straight out to the side, 90 degrees. We're going to tilt our head towards one arm, flicking it up. So we place the palm towards the sky. Other hand's going to rotate down, palm towards the ground, reaching the hands in both directions. As we change breath, we're going to change direction. I'm sure loads of people have done this one before. So we're just going to work through for about a minute, focusing on some nice controlled breathing for the moment and just getting a bit of movement into the shoulders. So as I inhale, I'm lifting one up, reaching, twisting at the shoulder. Now as I go back around to the other side, reversing that motion. So in today's routine, we're going to be going over from head to toe, basically. We're going to be doing upper body first, then down to the hips, some hip flexors, some hamstrings, and then opening the legs up for some pancake at the end. It's going to be a reasonably intense routine, some active elements, some passive elements. So buckle up. We've got an hour. All right, last one on this side here. We're going to take this same left hand, you're going to place it behind your back. So it's going to depress the shoulder down. We're going to lean the head away to the side. I want you to think about trying to pull this shoulder down as far as you can. And then we're going to give a little bit of assistance just with this right hand now on top. Try to think about trying to keep the head high here. We're going to feel a nice stretch down the entire side of the neck, down into the shoulder. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. And whilst you're here, you can play a little bit just with like the angle of the head. So you can try looking up to the side a bit. Try to see how that changes the stretch in the neck and find where feels good for you. Just a couple of deep breaths here. That's right, we're going to swap sides. So now right arm goes down by the side. I'll lean the head over to the right, to the left, sorry. And then you're just going to look and try to find, looking up a little bit to the left-hand side for me is hitting the spot nicely in the scalenes, which is one of these muscles coming down the front of the neck. Just another 10 seconds here. And now we're going to go into just a little bit of some thoracic rotations. So I'm going to take a kneeling position. I'm going to start with the left-hand side because we started with the left at the neck. I'm going to reach my left arm through. I'm going to get that shoulder down towards the ground. I'm going to try and roll onto the shoulder. So using this hand to assist, I can just apply a bit of pressure. And I'm looking just to feel my body rotate. And it's going to be anchored with this left shoulder onto the ground. So just twisting. And what your body will follow where your eyes go, so it can help you just look around, just get a bit of rotation through the spine. Nice deep breaths, expanding the rib cage. Exhale, try to twist further. All right, come out of that, we're going to swap sides. The same thing, right shoulder down towards the ground. Anchor it in, roll over slightly, and just use the other side just to give a little bit of push and twist. Nice deep inhale. Exhale deep. Okay, perfect. We're going to now stay in this lying position. I'm going to come lie on my left-hand side here. Grab a yoga block if you want a little bit of a cushion. And we're just going to perform a little bit of a stretching sequence for the left shoulder, then the right shoulder. So we're going to start in a sleeper stretch. We're on the arm directly out to the side. We're going to bend it to 90 degrees, making sure we're lying on top of the shoulder, not sort of rolling off to the side. We're going to press that arm down into internal rotation. So we're going to feel a stretch going over the side of the shoulder and then into the rear delt. This one, a little bit boring. We're just going to hold for 60 seconds, but it can really help just loosen up that posterior shoulder capsule, and that's going to help it make it a little bit easier for us to get into a nice overhead position, which is what we're after. So, as I said, we're just doing a little bit of work around the joint, and then we're going to do some active work, and then rinse and repeat for the hips as well. So over this 60 seconds, we're just looking for ourselves to be able to press that arm down a little bit deeper into the stretch. Just another 10 seconds here. Perfect, and we can just do a couple of reps just to shake that off. I'm going to stay in this position, and we're almost going to try and keep the shoulder in the same place, but we're just going to try and rotate round onto it. So now we're just going to transfer that stretch from the side, the posterior shoulder. We're going to go into the rhomboid, so the mid-back. So I'm going to try and feel that I'm twisting into this arm, but the arm is staying static. What you can do here is you can try and do just a little bit of PNF, because we have got maybe 30 seconds to spend. You're going to try and press this elbow down into the ground, like you're trying to elbow the ground. Just build it up very gradually, sort of just trying to focus on feeling the area that we're feeling the stretch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're just going to try and relax. And as we relax, we're just going to try and bring this right shoulder down towards the ground. Okay, perfect. Now, on our front, we're going to stay in the same position. We're just going to take this left hand again for the last stretch now, out to 90 degrees at the side. So we're on the elbow level with the shoulder, and we're just going to rotate round onto that left hand side. So I'm going to use my leg to swing and provide some resistance. Going to try and keep pressing that shoulder down into the ground and feel a stretch over the pec. And we're going to do a little bit of PNF here. So I'm going to try and press my elbow, almost like doing a chest fly into the ground. I'm going to hold for 5 seconds, so build it up, sort of 10%, 20%, 30%, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to try and exhale and just twist a little bit further around into the stretch. Perfect. So we're just going to swap sides now. So you can stay lying down straight on the ground, and we're just going to roll over onto the right hand side here. So same thing, grab your pillow if you need a pillow. Arm's going to be out at 90 degrees. We're going to fold it down towards the ground, making sure that we're not rolling off the shoulder. We're staying on top of the shoulder. And we're just going to hold this position for 60 seconds. And over that 60 seconds, I want you to see that arm get lower and lower down towards the ground. Just focus on your breathing during this one. We're just past halfway now. Another 10 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And then from here, as beforehand, we're going to roll over onto that right hand side. So now I've got this elbow locked down into the ground. I'm going to try and twist my left shoulder around. So I'm going to stretch in that rear delt into the rhomboid. And again, I can try and do some PNF. So I'm going to think about trying to press this elbow down to the ground. Again, just ramping up very slowly. So 5, 4, feel the area that's being stretched. 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to try and then just relax down a little bit further into it. Perfect. And last shoulder stretch. We're just going to bring this right hand out to the side, elbow bent to 90 degrees, swing that left leg over, twist into the right hand side. Do a nice stretch over the chest. And again, we can perform a little bit of PNF, so we're going to try and do a chest fly. We're going to try and press that elbow down into the ground, contract the pec, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll exhale and just try and relax a little bit deeper. Another 5 seconds here. Okay, so that's the warm up for the upper body. We're going to stay in this prone position, and we're actually going to try and do some prone swimmer exercises. So we're basically going to try and move the shoulders in a giant circle, and we're going to try and lift up as high as possible during this. So the starting position is with the hands behind the back, similar to our neck stretch at the beginning. We're then going to try and lift up as hard as we can. Going to move it all the way around, almost like we're just about to do a front crawl stroke, as far as we can. As when we get to our maximum distance with the thumb facing down, we're going to rotate so the thumb is facing up, all the way overhead as high as we can, and then round to the back of our neck. So we're going to do both hands at the same time, and then reverse this motion. So far as we can, all the way around, and then we're going to rotate back to hands behind the back of the neck. This is one of those drills that is really as hard or as easy as you make it, because you can try and just move through the motions. It's going to be challenging, or you can try to lift as high as you can at every single point, and it's going to be really hard. So the latter is preferred, but obviously warm up to it. We're going to do 3 reps, nice, slow, controlled, continuous movement, trying to lift through the widest range of motion possible. And then the drill afterwards, you're going to want some yoga blocks as well. So make sure they're nearby. Okay, 3 repetitions. Starting with hands on the back of the neck, back on the back, sorry. We're going to try and lift as far away from us. And then we're going to just try and nice, slow, controlled, straight arms, lifting as high as possible. Keep the thumbs facing down as long as possible. High as you can. Rotate round so thumbs are facing up, and all the way around to the back of your neck. We can relax for a second in the prisoner position, and then we're just going to reverse it. So again, elbows up as high as you can, extend the hands out straight, thumbs facing up, high as you can at all points, really feeling the traps working, and all the way around to the back. And we relax. So 2 more. I did say this was going to be deceptively challenging. So, nice and high. High as you can with the fists all the time. So let's take a little reset when you get to the end point of each rep. And then last rep here. Hard as you can, the entire time. Okay, so after you've done your 3 reps, we're still going to stay in this prone position. You're going to grab those yoga blocks, we're going to place them just next to each other, right in front of us. And we're going to do a butcher's block, but we're going to do this with our shoulders elevated. So we're going to again bring both elbows in front of us at shoulder width, hands together overhead. And then when we're in this shoulder position, we're going to try and make it a little bit active. So what you're going to try and think about doing is just pulling the sternum in and trying to have just the hips, so think the thighs, connected with the floor. So you're going to try and pull your sternum and pull your stomach in, which is going to make your lats, they're going to take some of the load, almost like we're slightly hovering above that surface. And we're just going to hold actively for about 10 seconds. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we exhale. and just try to passively sink a little bit deeper. So we need one more of those. So 10 seconds, like I'm trying to lift my stomach away from the ground, but I'm going to try and pull my shoulders down so it elevates, it increases the stretch. One more here. So lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just relax for a few seconds. Okay, cool. We can sit up. We're just going to shake that off. We're going to perform a stretch in just the opposite direction. So I'm going to take a seated position. We're going to do a German sit. I like to go a little bit wider with the hands in this one. Lift the chest up, open the chest out, and just let the hands kind of walk backwards until we feel a reasonable stretch over the shoulders into the bicep. We're just going to actively hold this one. So I'm not just sat on the joint, slouching, I'm pulling my shoulders back, pushing into the ground, just for 30 seconds or so. Perfect, we're going to take 30 seconds of rest, and just maybe note the trap should be burning a bit now. We should have a good stretch over the lats. That first exercise, the prone swimmers, should be challenging. If it wasn't challenging, make sure you try to grind out every single part of that rep. You can, if you're feeling really extra, you can think about putting some targets, and then you have to try and lift the hand over the target, but just thinking about trying to push it at every point is the best option. Okay, we're going to do one more set of that, and then we're going to move on to the hips. So let's take that same position again. I'm going to go face down at the ground. Take that starting position with the hands on the back, and then think as high as you can at all points. Really try to resist that rotation. Okay, lift. Hands as high as they can, straight arms, all the way until they get to the shoulder height, and then you can start rotating the thumbs towards the sky, high as you can, all the way around to the back of the neck, and down. As we get to the shoulders, we begin to internally rotate, keep lifting the hands nice and high. And that's a wrap done. So 2 more. Molly is demonstrating the target practice. Halfway. So last rep here. High as you can all the way around. Oh, it's way too hard. Way harder than it should be. Okay, we're going to bring these yoga blocks back. Again, I'm going to take elbows at about shoulder width. I'm going to focus on trying to just be active here. And you're thinking kind of like thighs. And here we're really just thinking about trying to have our thighs and then our elbows on this elevated surface. And every 2,
1. Try to exhale and try to stay in the stretch when you exhale. So we're just going to stay in the same position. We're going to do one more, so 10 seconds. So lift up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Very nice. Right, we can put these yoga blocks just to one side. We're going to need them later, but not for the moment. So I'm going to sit up and we'll perform one more of those German sit stretches just to reverse that motion. And also it's a good position just to try and improve as well. So really try to pin those shoulder blades back, wiggle the hips forward, active still with the shoulders. Pushing, trying to push the ground away from you. Just another 15 seconds here. Just breathing. Right, we're gonna stay sort of seated now. And we're gonna move now from shoulders down towards hips. So we're gonna start with the good old fashioned hip swivel just to warm things up slightly. So hands forward behind, chest stays nice and upright. We're gonna drop both legs to the left-hand side into external, internal rotation. Reverse that motion. Back to the other side. I'm gonna do 5 reps per side. Really this is just to help loosen up, open the hips up initially. So that's 4. One more per side now. And last one. Okay, so we're going to start on the left-hand side because that's what we've been starting. We're going to do a kneeling glute stretch. Now, there's a little bit of a technique to this one. So from the kneeling position, we're going to have the knee straight and the leg slightly externally rotated. And then what you're going to try and do here is you're going to try and think about twisting the hips around. So we're going to start a bit more kneeling. I'm going to think about trying to get my right hip closer to the ground. And then I'm going to try and arch my back as much as possible. So I'm going to try and anteriorly tilt my hips as much as possible. What we want to think about here is if you're not feeling much of a stretch, we want to be trying pushing our weight into our left glute. So I'm going to try and push my weight sort of backwards diagonally into the glute. Should feel like a kind of a deep stretch on the glute maximus here. And it really comes from, this like twisting the hip. So right hip trying to get low and pushing the left hip away. I'm just going to hold this for a total of 30 seconds. So we're probably already about halfway now. Keep trying to twist round into this one. Remember, trying to arch the back. So we're trying to anteriorly tilt the hips. 3, 2, and 1. Keeping it roughly the same, I'm going to bring this leg in. So we're now in a figure 4 position. And then from here, we're going to try and just do some figure 4 lifts. So you can use now your left hand to assist. You're going to give yourself a little bit of a push. You're going to lift the hips up. So we're into a standing position. And again, we can try and think about lowering down. And then as we lower down, we're going to try and get this right hip down towards the ground. So we're moving it into internal rotation. If you can do, you can perform it unassisted, but make sure you're doing it under control. Use that left hand or right hand just to take some weight off if you need to. Just going to do 5 nice and slow and controlled. 3. And last one here. And 5. I'm going to finish up with just a little bit more of a stretch of the external rotation of this left leg. So I'm going to bring it back round to what would be almost like a 90-90 position. So front leg out at 90, certainly straight, back leg out at 90. And then we're going to work again on just rolling that pelvis over. So I'm going to think about trying to get this right hip over, and I'm just going to wiggle this right leg back as far as I can. I'm just going to roll back and forth, kind of moving from no to moderate stretch, in and out of a reasonable stretch over the hip of this front leg. The reason I like this one is just for warming up is that we're going to think of this as external rotation of this front leg. So if we can think about trying to pin this leg down and really just rotate the pelvis around it, we're going to get quite a dramatic stretch in this left hand glute. So just another 15 seconds here. So roll, hold for a few seconds, try to twist into it. And then each time we're trying to roll just a little bit further over, as close as we can do to that pigeon position. So another 5 seconds here. I'm just going to hold that last position now for 5 seconds. And we're just going to swap sides. So we're going to take the same thing. We're going to swap to the other leg now. So we're going to have right leg down, same externally rotated position. So I'm not completely straight with my shin. I'm going to have it come across the body slightly. And then I'm just going to really focus about trying to tilt this hip. So I'm going to try and get this left hip towards my right knee. I'm twisting into it. And I'm thinking about pushing this glute backwards in this direction to get a nice stretch over the glute. And then if you aren't feeling it still, if you have the hips tucked, you're not going to place that glute under stretch. So we're just going to try and anteriorly tilt the hips as much as possible. I'm just going to hold this one for 30 seconds in total. So another 10 seconds here. Really try to tilt those hips. Push into the corner of the glute. And we can come down to that seated position. Bring this left leg in now. So we're in internal rotation and external rotation. It's this figure 4 position. Again, if you need to use the hand to give yourself some assistance, give yourself some assistance up. Nice, slow. Think about pushing the hips backwards, lowering, especially trying to lower into this left hand internally rotated side. 5 reps in total. Last rep here. And then on this last rep, we're going to spin around slightly. So I'm going to bring myself into that 90-90 position. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to think about similar sort of feelings to that first stretch, where we're just trying to roll this hip over. And that's what's going to externally rotate this right leg and bring us into a stretch. And then gradually, over maybe 5 or 6 rolls, we're going to get a bit closer to that pigeon position. Really try to feel like this left hip is being pulled down to the ground or down towards this right foot. It's another 5 seconds here. Go on. I'm just going to hold in the most stretched position we can get into just for that extra 5 seconds. Now again, to the end of this little warm-up for the hips, we're going to move into some hamstring stretching in a second. But the final stretch we're going to do is just a nice tailor pose, just to finish up. Loosen up those adductors, so we're going to come into a seated position. Feet kind of as close as feels comfortable. If you bring them really close and then you find you're kind of slouching round, just let them go a little bit further away. We want to feel like we can sit up nice and straight, and we're going to use our hands to assist with that. And then you're going to try and fold forward and just use your elbows to press down until we get a little bit of a stretch in the adductors. So we can perform a little bit of PNF, so we're kind of locked in this position now. I'm going to try and think about pulling my knees up into my elbows. They're not going to go anywhere, but I'm going to contract the inner thigh, my adductors. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to exhale. I'm just going to let them drop down and try and pull myself a bit deeper. We're just going to do one more of those. So you're going to lift those knees up into the elbows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax deeper. Just going to hold this deepest position we can for another 10 seconds. Just having to do a bit of multitasking on this one. Perfect. Right. Shake it off a little bit. And then we're going to do some hamstring stretching. So the first one we're going to do is a little bit different. And this is just about loosening up the lower back, contracting some of the hip flexors, and allowing us to get some more movement. So we're going to do an elephant walk. If you're doing this on a mat, you want to start at like one end of your mat, or at least give yourself like a meter of distance in front of you. And we're basically going to try and waddle with straight legs. So I'm going to try and lift my leg up and then place it forward. And we're just going to waddle back and forth for the length of the distance of the mat. About a meter, half a meter forward, half a meter back. May look a bit weird, this one, but it can really help loosen up the hamstrings for a lot of people, because we just get some movement in the QL, movement in the lower back, and then especially as we're walking backwards, we get this activation of the hip flexor. Perfect. A little bit of a waddle back and forward. We're going to lie down, and we're just going to bring both legs up to about 90 degrees. I'm going to place both fists between my legs at 90 degrees. So we're going to try and pull both feet out as wide as we can while squeezing in. Pull this into internal rotation. I'm just going to warn you now, you may get some cramps in the hips. Absolutely fine. We're going to do 2 efforts of 10 seconds, and during that 10 seconds you're going to try and lift your feet out as wide as possible. Keep squeezing the knees in. So I'm going to try and pull. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just relax and shake it off. And we're going to do one more. Remember to keep squeezing in with the knees. Pull the feet out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa. Shake it out. And then we're going to come up now into our pike position. So whatever your pike is, if you struggle to touch the floor here, we want to be able to get into a comfortable position. So grab yourself an elevation so you can just be somewhat supported. If you can comfortably touch the floor, that's going to be great. We're just going to move from our deepest pike to our deepest squat. That doesn't have to be all the way down. Maybe that's just down to here. That's fine. The key as you squat down is trying to let that stomach rest on the thighs. And then as you press back up to go into your pike, you're going to try and keep that connection. We're just going to do 5 reps, slowly moving back and forth. So all the way down. Try to keep that connection with the thigh. Reaching down with the hands. All the way back down. And then on the 5th rep, so I'm on 3 now. So 2 more. We're going to do a hold on the last rep. So we're going to hold in each rep, a few seconds, nice hamstring stretch. And then this last one here, we're just going to hold for about 15 seconds. And I want you to try and think about just reaching as far down as you can, trying to get, can you get palms to the ground? If you can get palms to the ground, let's try to think about getting those elbows towards the feet. So another 5 seconds here. And then from here, we can just walk back, lower ourselves down, all the way down to the ground. And then we're going to do just some Mackenzie push-ups. So I'm going to have hands by the underneath the shoulders. I'm just going to press myself up, away, try to get the arms straight, or if you can't quite get up there, arms bent, absolutely fine. And then we're just going to lower back down. We're just going to do 5 of these. This is just a bit of a rest, opposite direction. try to sort of time it with your breath. So we want to breathe in on the way down, and we want to exhale, try and blow out as you go back up. So there's 5 here in total. I'm just going to repeat through that little section again. So the elephant walks, the internal rotation, and then the squat to pikes, just to reinforce that hamstring flexibility. Beautiful. So we're going to set ourselves up again. We're going to go back to the edge of the mat if you can do, or just make sure you've got that space in front of you. Exactly the same thing. We're going to waddle forward, waddle backwards. Really try to think about lifting the leg as high as you can this time. So we're going to increase the difficulty and the demand on the hip flexors. So let's go. Nice waddle forward. I think Molly would be a little bit too much extra weight here. Nice big steps, really trying to lift each side of the hip, so we're compressing and flexing the lower back. Get to the end, same thing backwards. Try to drag the hip back as much as you can do. These ones are a little bit more challenging than they look. Here, and all the way to the end. Perfect. Now we're going to take us into that lying down position, to a couple more of those horrible crampy internal rotation efforts. So both fists between the knees. Make sure you squeeze the knees quite hard. And we're just going to try and pull those legs out as wide as you can. Both at the same time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake it off just for 5 seconds. And then same thing again. So knees, squeeze those 2 fists, pull the knees out, pull the feet out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And shake it off slightly. We're going to get back up into our pike position. So just take a note this time of how it feels. Like, could you get maybe knuckles to the ground last time? Can you maybe get palms to the floor this time? We should be able to see an improvement of our range of motion in this second set. Same thing, 5 reps. We're going to go down as far as we can into a nice deep squat. Keep that thigh connected to the chest, and then push backwards. Try and reach down in this top position for a few seconds. 5 reps. Moving back and forth. Really try to squeeze the quads in this top position and reach using the hip flexors down as far as you can. 2 more. And this is it for the hamstrings. So last one now, we're going to hold for 15 seconds. Really trying to get as far down as you can. Try to reach using the hands, using the elbows deep as you can. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm going to come down into a kneeling position. So kneeling, toes flexed. We're just going to lean backwards. Use the hands to support you. You can move around a little bit. We're just going to get a bit of a stretch over the hip flexors, because that is what we're going to be tackling next. Okay. So this one is a little bit about understanding how it feels. We're going to get into a kneeling lunge. So front leg kneeling, back leg straight. We want to be on the toes of the back leg, ideally. We're going to fix how difficult this is by where our hands are. So the further our hands come forward, the more we're going to be straight over the front leg, the less hip extension we're going to require. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, this can still be hard as much as this can be hard if we just try to extend the back. So it's all about the hip flexor. Focus on getting a good stretch over the hip flexor. What we're going to try and do is we're going to do 5 reps. We're going to hold for 3 seconds, 4 seconds each time. I'm going to try and kick my foot down into the ground. I'm going to extend my quad so my leg becomes straight. But when I do that, I'm not just twisting the hip out. I'm going to try and think about keeping this hip as close to the ground as I can do. So I should feel that as I lift the knee back, I'm going to get an increase in stretch over this hip flexor. That's what we're after. Okay, 5 reps. Hold in for about 3 to 4 seconds each time. This one's really about focusing. Use the glute, squeeze the glute. Let's back leg. 3, 2, 1, and then relax. 4 more reps. And relax. So I like to think of this one, as I extend the leg straight, I'm also going to try and pull this right hip down towards the ground. So I'm doing both at the same time. 2, 1, 2 more efforts here. So try and get that right hip down to the ground, try and straighten the left leg, the right leg even. And we're just going to do 1 more. 2. So that's 5 reps. Bring your right leg forward. I'm not going to go straight back into the other side here. We're going to actually do another hip flexor stretch on the same leg, almost like a superset. We're going to do the knee flexion, so the rectus femoris now. We're just going to go into that same sort of kneeling position. Going to let this leg drift over to the side. So if you feel this is uncomfortable, just get a little bit of padding underneath this shin, and then the weight's going to be put through the shin rather than the top of the foot. Cushion or something can help there. From here, we're just going to lean backwards as far as we can do. And same thing, I want you to think about squeezing your glute. So I'm going to try and push my hip in this direction. And this is going to emphasize the stretch over the quad, over the hip flexor. Extra bonus points if we can get this other leg just to anchor that knee down. And then we can really think about trying to push this hip, get a nice big stretch over this side. We're just going to hold this semi-actively, so I shouldn't be maximum effort trying to push my hip open. But I should feel a good stretch now over that hip flexor. I'm going to hold for another 15 seconds. Perfect. So we're going to keep this right leg forward now. In the kneeling position, we're going to go back with that left leg. Again, adjust as you need to. So if you come more forward, it's going to reduce hip extension. Not necessarily a bad thing. We really just want to focus on feeling that stretch over that rear hip. So make sure we're nice and supported, toes in the back foot. Try to extend the leg, lift the leg up, and try to pull that left hip down towards the ground. But 3, 2, 1, and relax. This one just takes a little bit of time just to figure out, to really squeeze the most out of it. So extend the leg, pull the left hip down towards the ground. 3, 2, 1. Three more. Lift. 3, 2, 1. Really think about trying to sort of lift the knee away, but the hip down towards the ground. And last one here. Same thing, we're going to bring that left leg forward now. We're going to let this right leg go straight. So we're going to come into that quad stretch on this side, lean back into it, thinking about pushing the hip extension, so we're extending, getting the stretch over the hip, and then you can lock that knee down with the other foot. And then we can kind of just chill out in this position. Moderate stretch now over the quad, over the hip flexor. Just don't worry, we're going to do a round 2 of the hip flexors, and it's going to get a little bit more intense. So just another 20 seconds here. Another great option for this particular one is a couch stretch. It's just, this is one of the ones that is no equipment, we can still do on the floor. But a couch stretch is another fantastic option. Okay, few more seconds, and we're going to take just a short breather. And for that short breather, we're going to fill it with a stretch because we'll make the most of the time. We're going to go into a nice frog pose. So knees out at 90, wide as you can. And we're just going to rock back and forth. We're going to rock backwards, making sure we're arching the hips, so trying to arch the pelvis as much as possible, deep stretching the adductors. As we come forward, just try to push one of the knees out so we can go a little bit deeper. Same thing, push the hips back, hold for a few seconds, come forward, we can push that knee a little bit further out. So we're just going to do this 4 or 5 times until we kind of get towards a max range. So just going to keep holding this, another 10 seconds here. Pretty relaxed stretch, rocking in and out, just opening up the adductors as we're thinking about the next part before we finish off the hip flexors. Okay, so let's come out of this one, shake it off a little bit, and then we're going to do hip flexors round 2. So first time we did a kneeling version, we're going to do a standing version for this long lunge now. If you found the first version hard, stick with that. We're going to do exactly the same thing. This is just a slightly more loaded, more intense version. So we're going to start, we had right leg back first time. So we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to get into a moderate sort of stretch of a lunge here. And I'm going to try and do the same thing where we try and lift that knee up. So we're going to extend the hip further and think about straightening the quad. But when you do this, we don't want to just like stand up out of the stretch because that's kind of pointless. So you're really going to think about fighting hard, keeping the hips as low as possible and just trying to extend, push that foot backwards, hold for a few seconds, and then we're going to perform again 5 reps. So 5 hard reps here. Right. When you're ready, right hand side back, decent sized lunge. If you need some support, by the way, just for balance reasons, that's absolutely fine as well. So 3, 2, 1. You really want to think about using that glute of the back leg and trying to push the heel behind you. 3, 2, 1. Try to avoid as well leaning on the knee. It's also cheating. 5, 4, 1. 2 more. So do 5 in total. 1, 2, 3. And then last one here. 1, 2, 3. Right, don't leave the lunge, stay in the lunge. If that is challenging, we're going to reach behind, we're going to grab the foot of the back leg, so we've now got a bent leg, and we're just going to shift forward into more of a hip flex stretch. And then to make this harder, we're going to try and pull this foot as close as we can to the glutes. And we're just going to hold this one for about 30 seconds. I did say this one was going to get a little bit more intense. If you maybe are struggling with the second one, it's not necessary that, it's not as good. We want to make sure we can get the best stretch for ourselves. So if you have to repeat the first 2 exercises, that's absolutely fine. And if anything, it will give you better progress. Lovely. Right leg can come back. And we're going to swap sides, repeat exactly the same thing. So right leg comes forward, left leg back. We're going to get into reasonable hip flex stretch on the feet of the back leg. We're going to lift up, but remember, hips are staying low. We're not going to let the hips rise with this one. Let's try to straighten that leg. 3, 2, 1. 4 more to go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 2 more. 2, 1. And last one here, really keep those hips low, quad away from the ground. Nice deep stretch over the hip flexors. 2, 1. Come forward with that left arm, stay forward, reach back, grab that foot, shift on into this stretch. Really think about getting that left hip down towards the ground and pulling that foot in as close as we can do. And obviously remembering to breathe. Just keep holding, another 10 seconds here. Oh, there's a nice deep stretch from this side. This is a tighter side for me than my right. Perfect. Oh, let's just fold back. We're gonna chill out. Take a mental 10 seconds. We're just gonna go into a child's pose. That is the upper body. We've done some hips, we've done some hamstrings, we've done some hip flexors. We're gonna finish up with the final part, which is on the pancake and sort of the abduction of the legs, so the opening the legs apart. Okay, so this one, we're gonna start in a squat. So ideally, we want to be able to get into our deepest resting squat that we can do. We're just gonna do a couple of reps each side. We're gonna try and just get that arm in there, just push the knee away, feel a little bit more of an increase of a stretch in the adductor. Just gonna do a few of those. If this is hard for you to sit in a resting squat, you can do another one of those tailor poses. It's gonna have a similar effect. So just do 5 reps per side, nice slow, moving in and out of the range of motion. So swap to that right hand side now. Cool, so staying in this squat, we're just gonna move our left leg out straight and stay bent in a squat with the right hand one. Now, I don't mind this coming forward, being supported completely on the hands, and we've got that heel lifting. If you want to, you can go into a full Cossack squat. Again, I'm still using my hands to support myself. Like, this is not super active. I'm just trying to get into the stretch and feel the stretch in my medial hamstring and my adductor. Hold for a few seconds. I'm going to try and stay as low as possible. I'm going to shift around to the other side and let that foot turn up. Again, like, I don't mind if I'm coming forward a bit here and having the toes forward. We're just going to swap back and forth, hit a few reps per side. So trying to stay as low as possible as we swap back and forth. So last rep on this side. And from here, we're just going to stand up into a pancake. So this pancake position now, we're going to have like a reasonable straddle. We don't want to go so wide that it feels very unsafe and uncomfortable. If you cannot sit in a pancake on the floor and fold forward, we're going to want to use this standing stretch for the next series of exercises. If you can, however, sit reasonably comfortable in a pancake where we can get forward and gravity is on our side, then we'll do seated. Again, neither is better. It is about choosing the stretch that is right for you. Some pancake core compressions. Now, if you're maybe a little bit more limited and you can't quite sit in pancake, we're going to do this in the bent leg position. So we're just going to work on trying to press into the ground, lift the knees up, but we're not just lifting up, we're also lifting out. If you can sit in a pancake, we're going to do this in a straight position, same thing, press into the floor, lift the feet up. We're going to do 5 reps, and we're going to do 3 or 4 seconds per effort, lifting as high as you can, trying to create that tension through the anterior side of the body, pressing down into the floor, and then we're going to go into a bit of a stretch. Okay. So whichever one you want to do, bent leg or straight leg. I'll start with the bent leg, just so I can demonstrate. So hands in front of us. I'm going to try and lift those legs up as high as we can, nice and tight to us. 3, 2, 1. And then as we can do, try to stay in the stretch here. You're going to make the most of it. 4 more. 1, 2, 3. If this gets a little bit crampy, you can just shake it off in between, not a problem. 3 more. 1, 2, 3. So try to stay forward into the stretch. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do one last one here. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So if you cannot sit forward and get into this position, we're going to do this one standing, and we're simply going to perform a good morning. So you're going to be in your pancake position, and we're just going to be hinging down. We're going to go as far as we can, pause for a few seconds. We're going to come back out and then back down. So we're doing reps there. If you can sit in your pancake, we do it seated. Exactly the same thing. What I do like to do here is just have a bit of a target. So I want something that I'm going to be able to touch my chest down onto. I'm going to do 5 repetitions. So I'm going to try and lean forward, reach the chest down, reach the hands down, pause for a few seconds, come back out. If we can manage that, we can go a little bit deeper. I'm going to do 5 in total. That's 3, so 2 more. Now on this last one, we're just going to hold for 15 seconds in the deepest range we can. Try to breathe, try to get comfortable if you can do. Three, 2, 1. Oh, out we come. We're just going to take 30 seconds here. I think we're going to do some bending in the opposite direction. So just come to a lying position. Feet can go a bit wider. You can just let the feet, or the knees, sorry, drop into the center, alternating back and forth. And we're going to do one more round of that pancake core compression combined with some pancake stretching. And then we're basically done with this 60-minute, potentially longer routine. Okay, another couple of these, but there's no point hanging around too long. We're almost there. So this time I'm going to do a straight leg version. Hands placed on the floor in front. I'm going to try and squeeze my quads first and then lift the feet. What we want is to see the feet only lifting maybe like a couple of inches. If we can lift all the way up and lean back, there's not much point in that. Just try to walk the hands further forward to make it hard. 5 lifts, 3 or 4 seconds each time. Make it hard. Let's go. And try and stay forward in that stretch. 4 more. Lift. 2, 3, 4. Amber. Lift. 3 more. 1, 2, 3. 2 more. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do one last one here. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Right. Assume your pancake position. This time we're not just going to do a good morning. We're going to come forward into our stretch. If you have a yoga block, this can help with this drill. And it still works the same if you're standing. You're going to try and think about reaching. So if you're standing, you're going to try and reach the hands forward as far as you can. And then at the same time, you're going to push the hips backwards so you get most of the stretch.
we're just sat on the floor. I'm just going to try and push this block in front of me. I'm going to try and push it as far away as I can. I'll do that for 10 seconds. I'm going to relax and I'll repeat again. So try to reach away. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to relax in the stretch. And then one more one. So reach, push away. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, hold that position. 5 more seconds here. And you can come out of it. Keep a yoga block just for this final one now. Just as a bit of a cool down. I'm going to come forward. Yeah, get one of these yoga blocks. I'm going to place it sideways right around my thoracic back. I'm just going to lie backwards. Right, so it's on the shoulder blades. And I'm just going to let gravity do its thing. Pull myself around the yoga block. And put my feet together into a diamond position as well. I'm just going to sit and breathe just for about 30 seconds here. Because you made it. And that was reasonably intense, pretty long, pretty hard routine for the entire body. The hips are definitely going to be taking some work. And I wouldn't be surprised if you're feeling a little bit sore tomorrow. Maybe the flexibility goes away, but a few days' time, it's going to be back and better than it was before. But that is basically the routine. I want to say a massive thank you again for 1 million subscribers. Just an absolutely crazy figure. So this is one of the ways in which I want to say thank you. If you did enjoy it, hit that thumbs up button. If you still want to join the tribe, if you're not part of us already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comment section down below. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a strong week. Peace.